Soul Nomad and the World Eaters. What are you so happy about? It's a game from 2007 that launched exclusively on the PS2 and did fine until 2021 rolled around and the thing got ported to Steam to some reception. It's never really been part of the conversation, you know? God of War 2 was out in 07. Halo 3 was out in 07. Some of the greatest Western AAA juggernauts got rolling in 07. And then there's this. You had to be a special kind of person to pick this thing out, you know? A real connoisseur, let's say. Actually, wait. How the unholy fuck did they get away with that? Sure, it looks innocent enough, another budget-looking, sprite-based tactics game with super deformed chibi characters. But enough, funny stuff happens on screen and off screen that I need to slap a general content warning right there. General content warning. All. It's the edgiest PS2 game I've played in years. I know. Edgiest PS2 game? Buddy, Drakengard's right there. Drakengard is mainly edgy for making a diddler and a baby eater some of the world's saviors. Throw a couple other content warnings in there and that's Drakengard. Soul Nomad has a nearly identical resume. All of the grossest stuff happens off-screen in either, it just happens to look a little cuter here. NIS likes a little stank on their games, and I do too. It's a breath of fresh air and a stale library of dreary and serious stories. You know, thank God someone is willing to pile on the spice. As they say, if you ain't sneezing, it ain't seasoning. I think I read that in a book somewhere.
Hasty enough to capture a lady's heart. That isn't true.
Soul Nomad's development is a bit of a mystery. It's not well documented, and very few interviews are available for insight. A lot of NIS games, that's Nippon Ichi Software's games, especially in this period, were slapped together factory style and pushed out quick. I also know what it's like to cut corners to stabilize financially, so I've got to give them a pass. But the result is a lot of low-budget, relatively graphically inferior, mechanically intensive stuff, dolloped with quirk to get a small group invested.
I don't know. With all the clumsy menus and, let's face it, ugly look to the whole thing, it's hard to really concentrate.
That was a prevailing attitude of the era. I can remember being young and disinterested in pixels for a while because tech was moving fast. It was an exciting time, but a lot of games got passed over. And when they sell themselves like this,
It makes me want to punch kittens.
it's hard to sit till the credits roll. Something you have to do to see the work for what it is. Whether due to financial strain or intentional strategy, a lot of their early catalog wasn't allowed to flourish or given the necessary time to gild them like the PS2's greatest hits. They're plucky and scrappy and actively disrespectful, and that's the appeal. I've been at the poetry reading that sucked, sat through the wedding speech that never ended, the kind of stuff that makes you pray someone will rush the stage, swipe the mic, and rip unholy ass just to watch the chaos. Before you get to playing, you have to pick your sex. Do you prefer the masculine or the feminine? The feminine, I think. Guys, I said I don't want to be Kratos, and you made me a woman. Actually, wait, that's exactly how people think about masculinity. It's art. Soul Nomad's story gets a little weird, but the premise is easy. You're a person, a silent protagonist with no discernible personality, who's been training all their life for a great task. Finally, after years of struggle, you are level 1. I want to make a joke, but real. So real. You're finally handed your task to scrub the earth clean of the World Eaters, these massive, all-consuming monsters who've terrorized the outside world for generations. No, you've never seen one. Yes, you've only trained with a petite cowgirl, but like, you'll manage. While your friend here gets to choose a weapon, you're simply handed the ominous onyx blade, which... Oh, please, God, no.
Me? Oh, just the most hardcore ass kicker to
You're
ever
setting me up with
destroy
this?
my outfit.
This is awful!
Well,
This is High on Life, but for PS2!
yes, but...
He talks like he washes down gravel with cum! You get to make a few dialogue choices here, agreeing to save the world or not. I guess I'll have to come back to this later. So, silent protagonist, armed with Gig, and our childhood friend Danette set out to vanquish the World Eaters. We're joined by every weird guy in the world at some point or another, and I'm leaving the rest to the story segment. Soul Nomad looks pretty typical at a glance, but remember, this is NIS. The Disgaea people. The let's dive into my equipped sword and win a quick battle to increase its stats people. so put some respect on that glance. These people are fucked. As you can imagine, Gig is the most important character, and you're the only one who can contain him, so every battle starts with you, alone. You have to manually summon additional squads onto the battlefield if you want support. This is not Fire Emblem or FFT. Everyone's generally put off by you, and you've got to drag them screaming into the trenches one at a time. Sorry, pal, we're fighting God. You can outfit these groups however you like. You'll gain access to more kinds of soldiers than you'll ever actually use, and they slot into these little grids, automatically performing different actions in combat depending on whether they're placed in the front, middle, or back rows. Mages and priests excel in the back, like you'd expect, but occasionally a unit has some kind of unexpected utility outside of where you'd think to use them. You know, some of these guys launch rockets, unleash anime super moves, and you thought, oh, symbol time! Smarten the fuck up. Soul Nomad attempts to simulate massive armies clashing on enormous battlefields. In an interview for Dengeki, director Shinichi Ikeda said, quote, "We conceived of Soul Cradle as a game with large-scale battles, rather than one-on-one combat like Disgaea. So we created this World Eater to fit that concept. Because the game is about killing the World Eaters, right? It's not a surprising feature. Big, brutal bosses, a war-torn world, and small mortals teaming up to accomplish something impossible, like ants carrying off a soda can. So Soul Nomad uses leader units in charge of little strike teams to represent warfare. You can pull a few advanced techniques, but they're all ignorable. Most of the play is walking into enemies and ripping them apart. Now, you'll be hampered by many kinds of enemies, and all of their uniquely annoying bullshit. Sometimes your movement is cut or stopped entirely. Sometimes your damage is reduced to 0. Sometimes you run into a squad specifically designed by NIS to pop you like a grape and wipe 40 minutes of playtime. That didn't happen to me, but that was a demonstration. I'm gamer. And you expect these things. You don't sign up for a strategy game to be crowned the next great tactician of the Three Kingdoms, okay? The devs hand you a ticking time bomb, and you learn to defuse it. Or trade the game in for less than half the asking price. Will you fold? Will you hang your head at GameStop and allow them to hand you a crisp 10 spot? Are you really even gamer? Now, to be fair, if you were a child and played Pokemon Blue or Pokemon Gold, you should be pretty at home in Soul Nomad. You're led to believe that rounding out multiple squads is important. Look at all these classes, monsters even. You can fill out a team in so many different ways. But you don't have to. You can almost exclusively run your main squad through the entire game and only ever suffer in a handful of missions that benefit from the odd additional squad, and sometimes just so the problem enemy targets somebody else. It's actually slower to evenly level an entire platoon when you can just as easily pump the main crew alone, at least once you get comfortable. Like, while I'm selling the thing as complex, it really doesn't have to be. Let's save the really smelly stuff for later, though, and talk about the world we're saving here. Prodesto. The setting is not a happy place. It's ruined, weathered, beaten, and bled by centuries of conflict with the World Eaters, and its own internal strife. You're not immediately granted access to any given place. Sometimes you have to beat up the gate guards, and pockets of the world's more disparate people remain in perpetual conflict with humankind. It's rare you're actually welcome anywhere, and when you are, it's usually because you're useful. Bit of a cynical take, but it rings true regardless. Of course, it's a flat world sketched on a map and colored with backdrops, nothing exciting or impressive. And that barren presentation actually matches the game's narrative goals. You're never truly wanted and never fully belong. And it's communicated with visuals. If you can't stun them with graphical fidelity, use restriction to your advantage. Not that it's necessarily intentional, seems more like a happy accident. And it's not the kind of world you endear yourself to anyway. Most of humanity's leaders are corrupt. A king who taxes his people into the dirt for his own selfish ends. A nation in lockstep with an influential cult. Bandits willing to steal even in the hardest times. And a trafficking ring that serves the wealthy. Small dabs of good exist, and many of the non-human folk avoid the aforementioned depravity, but it's hard to see a home in Prodesto. And maybe that's for the best. Too much fantasy is centered on utopian beauty and simplicity. Soul Nomad is aware of its genre roots and willing to give a unique NIS take on that lineage. At one point in the story, you hear the setting's creation myth, which explains that the gods created the various races found in-universe one after the other, all of whom eventually forced the gods to destroy everything and start over. So the world we're given isn't only ruined, but built on what we can assume to be millennia of ruin.
Ha! What an utterly simplistic idea. Your precious gods aren't good for shit.
Okay, and the myth in question actually gives away the narrative. Each of the races had something to contribute, or something they excelled in, but by themselves were too much of themselves, which consistently led to disaster, self-destruction, or challenging the gods outright. It's only in the current world, populated by all kinds, held tenuously in check by powerlessness in the face of apocalyptic monsters, that life can be sustained, and only barely. Children are an actual commodity, a bargaining chip, worth paying enormous sums to a trafficking outfit for because birth rates are declining, and some species even face extinction. It's possible that no version of life, at least in this universe, could be stable.
I haven't figured you out yet, but I'm sure it's there. You maggots do some stupid shit after all.
Thank you, Gig. It might sound profoundly cynical or even nihilistic, but that's why Gig's in the party. That's why you're joined by a host of different characters representing the different races who joke, screw around, and live loudly, annoyingly, in the face of total annihilation. No matter how much the world sucks or how much Gig snarks, they still have each other.
Love, hope. All these pathetic false
No,
ideals
stop. I am
force people to do some
trying to get through this script,
Your
and
problem is you're a
I will turn this review around. Soul Nomad's soundtrack was handled by Tenpei Sato, who scores most of NIS's larger body of work. It's pretty out there stuff, eclectic, unwilling to bend to the more expected kind of fantasy score. The stuff you might find in Vanillaware's catalog, for example. Of course, it comes with the territory. NIS games are irreverent, often vulgar or childish or satirical, and so it doesn't clash as badly as you'd expect when the saxophone kicks in after the harp. A lot of the instrumentation is like that, actually, a host of instruments butting up against each other, and sometimes in jarring ways, which accurately captures the plot and its characters.
Revolution? What's that?
You need to shut up for a while.
A man is dead after playing a PS2 game. It's called Soul Nomad. It's like the visuals, not necessarily stunning, but definitely working within the confines of the broader direction. I think that's what interests me the most about the game. I wouldn't recommend it to most people. You can probably tell if you'll find it fun in a few clips, but it's surprisingly well directed. It has a concise vision, in spite of the—
I'm a badass. You guys are total weak sauce.
Man. It's pretty jarring to play a game that puts the word weak sauce alongside what we now recognize as a slur. Take it from a guy who's taught Shakespeare. I still think there's value in rolling around in the filth. 2026 is a pretty confusing time to be alive. If you make things online, you're at once obligated to put disclaimers in front of anything and everything, because if not, someone's going to be upset with you, personally, for having failed them in a way you probably didn't consider. And that can suck, but it's healthy to understand that many people make up a space. It's not hard to see the value in doing that little. And that's what Soul Nomad's about, so we can dig it. In the very same handful of minutes online, you can find people demanding uncomfortable media and other people genuinely disgusted by, like, the fuck word. Soul Nomad is an off-putting game. I mean, who wants to sit through 40-plus hours of semi-tactical but not particularly satisfying battles? And that's before getting into the juvenilia, the cringe, the edge. It was made in another era when bumping up against boundaries would have been seen more favorably as kind of punk, or at least in an increasingly straight-laced medium, consistently attacked for nothing by dudes like Jack Thompson and Fox News.
It's a new role-playing video game that is leaving nothing to the imagination. Mass Effect is what it's called.
God of War, Borderlands, many popular games successfully pushed one or more boundaries, and Soul Nomad did too. It just didn't age very well. Okay, Frollo, that term's not in common use anymore. But hey, someone in the comments who's not from the UK is finding that out right now, and Sondheim himself had to find out some years after he published his famous musical stuff. All this said, the edge serves a purpose. Gig is the main perpetrator, and that's worth acknowledging. He's cynical, miserable, his energy sucks.
So you're not just trying to get rid of your bedwetting, sister-loving bag of manure? Sure,
that's kind of cute, having to haul the worst guy in the world around, having him insult everybody. But at some point, After puberty, it gets a little old.
Eat me, stupid cow. She's just some stupid cow. Stupid cows.
And it does the trick. It's not hard to hate Gig and want him to change, or fuck off.
Please, we live in different realities. Don't even try to compare me to your pathetic human ideas. Friends, family. It's all a mindless distraction. Garbage like you would never understand. You just live waiting to die.
I think he's exactly the kind of character cynical teenagers cheer for and nobody else can stand. So I don't want to call it bad writing. Okay, it's pretty bad.
Everyone must be a candy ass.
Got that right. You can compare to my totally indestructible ass.
This is awful. Still, the total immaturity and overrich delivery make Gig unbearable, and that's by design. The writing serves the package. The question is, what does the game want from Gig? Where is this all going? So hear me out. It's going to try to redeem Gig.
How dare you accuse me of having friends? You're gonna eat those words.
Because Gig's back hurts from carrying the entire cast, he's compensated with exceptional mechanical relevance. He matters at every level. You don't just tap into his power in battle, you can buy Gig edicts. I'm not going to attempt to contextualize this because nobody should be selling these things. It's like buying the ability to do stuff that you shouldn't be able to do. Recover some health or stamina in battle with the nap command. Move further. Swap places with other units, that kind of thing. But Gig is with you anywhere, and so you can buy punch, kick, steal, and kidnap commands. Yeah, who needs to save money when you can rob NPCs? Who needs to wait for new classes to unlock naturally when you could fucking steal people? This is ridiculous! Y'all beat the tar out of the townsfolk. Frankly, they need to be put in their place.
Pick a fight with woman and her baby. I would always do that.
And kick, I mean, that doesn't serve any function. That's just funny. Turns out they didn't find it funny. Wait, this is the second closest living relative to Radiata's stories. Jack Russell denting everyone's shins. My god, all of this funny junk can be largely ignored. You don't actually need to unlock any class ahead of time. And you definitely don't need money unless you go into debt by robbing the wrong targets consecutively. Speaking of...
Okay, vent angst. Why? This is a big pile of shit.
Punk-ass hero man wrecking my day. Why don't you fight the World Eaters? Why don't you pick on someone your own size? I'm a small bean. I'm just a bean! Someone had to stand up for the little guy, but unfortunately he's wearing panties. So it's really easy to end up never using these like me, which almost works with the broader story of rehabilitation. It's probably worth noting that Gig can't actually engage with townsfolk in any positive way. You can hold hands and heal on the battlefield, you can benefit yourself and work towards your own ends, but regular people are only abusable. And nobody stops to say, hey man, no! It's only Hero Man, this opaque punishment that puts any fear into the player, as though the other party characters are so blind, or morally bankrupt, or cowardly to actually step up and stop the protagonist. Maybe they're just so tired from living through the end times they can't bring themselves to care. I'd be checked out too, getting whisked into near certain death every other day. Alright. Let's get sweaty. Most of the game's mechanical quirks involve combat. While you're expected to utilize many units and develop a strategy or whatever, you end up doing more interior decorating than anything else. Okay, not exactly, but every squad exists in a room. See the platforms and their different designs? Those are rooms. They represent passive benefits. Now you can buy rooms, but you mostly end up rolling for them. Yeah, randomly shuffling through rooms in a menu to find one that works. And I say works because a lot of these rooms suck. Okay, this room only has 4 slots for units, so that's not gonna work. Shit. This goes on for upwards of 30 minutes if you're sufficiently picky, and I'm not kidding. There aren't a ton of really useful room types, at least early on, and the ones that are good tend to be good for the whole game. So you only want a handful of the possible kinds with a high enough slot count to be functionally viable. Oh, you rolled what you wanted, but it had a low slot count? Well, rolling spree, that's 2 separate criteria you're rolling for. Okay, room size and room type. So you end up flailing in RNG hell for however long per squad. Now, rolling is free, but hey, NIS. Don't know if you heard. Time is money, friend! I'm sorry, the what showed up? Sometimes bandits or bad vibes or other bums blow in while you're rolling for rooms. They don't ever infest Gig's squad, they probably know better, but you either have to roll them away, fight them for access, which can be costly if you fail, or fight enough battles to make them leave on their own, which will often result in a decent quality room. But regardless, it's impressive how thorough Soul Nomad is about rendering its systems player hostile. You don't just get what you want on demand, despite controlling the overlord of evil. And this is true regardless of whether you accepted Gig's power early on or not. It's a dog-eat-dog world on the brink of ruin, and Gig's monsters helped create the conditions. You're just living with them now. And yes, I'm implying that Gig and the World Eaters ruin things so badly that it's manifesting in the mechanics. I mean, it costs actual in-game currency to summon your friends to fight at all. Nobody can stop me. I'm on a rampage. Now that I'm equipped with a room that works for me and an hour that's never coming back, I can place my units. Except that's only one fragment of the squad's capabilities. You can equip squads, or more accurately, equip rooms, with special abilities from the decor shop. It's not really decor because these items are used up after a single fight, and buddy, I don't buy furniture lightly, so let's maybe call them decorations. Like it's a party. Like the one I'm gonna throw when this is all done. You'll want to get into the habit of buying up decor items and slapping them onto your squads at the start of every fight, after a point. They will make the difference between barely pulling through and dying outright, so get spending. But wait, eventually you find out that decor isn't enough because some challenges push the limits of the system, and you can square that difference by delving into your room to level it up with a few short battles, not unlike Disgaea, and beating up the shopkeep to turf their ass and bring in a new one with upgraded stock. You can increase a few variables, including your attack range, even if you've got a melee weapon, increasing your total move count, etc. Is this it? Is this what they meant by menu slop? I'm diving into menus and finding combat. What is happening? Like you'd expect, most of the numbers are negotiable, adjustable, you just have to put in the work. It's not like it's too much to juggle. Any squad can have up to 9 members, so the equipment isn't a factor. It's just the temporary decor you have to worry about, which isn't even mandatory. And this is just the short version. If you want to learn more, there's a number of available guides online, but the further we go, the further we stray from God's light, so let's extrapolate a little. In the plot, Gig dominates characters, consensually, of course, to summon them onto the battlefield later. The domination process results in a mannequin, like a doll, that's apparently used as a summoning medium. It's not overly specific, but regardless, Gig, the sociopathic demigod, objectifies the people he meets, makes objects out of them which pave over the need for camaraderie, reciprocation, any kind of mutual human relationship to get what he wants. Characters in war games are often treated like disposable units, which is itself commentary on the nature of war and part of why this sort of game works so well narratively. You're always passively aware, through systems and mechanics, how dehumanizing large-scale warfare is. NIS is often accused of having bad writing and bad stories, mostly for coarse presentation and taking a blunt approach to storytelling, just whacking you with the bat.
Oh, boo! Where's Unky Gig to change our diapers? Well, don't worry, little baby.
Please stop. None of these characters are deeply compelling, and even Gig, the most interesting character, is one-dimensionally evil except in glimmers, when the light hits him at just the right angle. And the plot here is not particularly strong, but the mechanics do the heavy lifting. This story of a world in ruins so incomparably fucked, its own destroyer is wielded to set things right, is felt in its systemic cruft, in its dehumanizing minutiae and context, summoning real people into battle like minions through mannequins. They're too small to be worthy of equipment. Levels matter, but some units can't do much to stand against their weaknesses. They have to work together to accomplish anything. Your party members aren't nothing, though. They can combo with the protag or with each other in different ways. Because combat is automatic, sometimes you can't fully wipe an enemy team exactly how you want to and end up burning turns inefficiently. But it's possible to find unique combos that tilt the balance in your favor. Hit the whole enemy squad or particular rows you're struggling with if you go looking, if you put in the work. Maybe Gig could only ever learn about their worth as people because of the hero. Still, Gig is only fully understood by looking at the mechanics and the story. Soul Nomad's story begins centuries before the events of the plot. The land is unified by a hero for 10 years. He dies alongside his heir, and war grips Prodesto for 15 more years. Then his daughter Lena rises up and facilitates treaties which last for 50 years, until the World Eaters, led by a brutal godlike being, terrorize the world, and Lena sacrifices herself to seal the demon away. 200 years have passed since then. If you actually pay attention during the scroll, you might be surprised to find out your village is led by a woman named Lena, which naturally begs the question, but who cares? We have a world to save. I don't want to regurgitate every plot event because Soul Nomad's story is better felt than told. Yes, it has events in it, people interact, most of the text is nonsense.
Your stupidity really knows no limit. I think your mother dropped you on your head one too many times.
Ugh. You're just useless. That's what you are.
Ooh, nice comeback.
You people are just too funny.
Thank you, Cuthbert. I wasn't sure how to feel about that. Actually, let's interrogate the triteness claim a little. Part of why Soul Nomad didn't catch fire is its presentation, not just aesthetics. Let's look at the characters. We've got a silent protagonist lugging around the edgiest guy in the world. He's so edgy, he's stuck in a sword. But boy does he love hot pods. Just really digs fantasy food.
There. Now there's no more hot pods. Now let's get out of here.
You animal!
Yeah, save it for the anime convention, bro. That's the best character. Yikes. There's Danette, a childhood friend and fellow warrior of the village who's dumb. We've got Levin, who the game insists has a sister complex, which is always normal to talk about in regular conversation. Vitaly, who's both a priest and a spy, so he doesn't often appear, and since he has a feminine name, to the Japanese ear, they joke about him being a cross-dresser. Actually, multiple characters dress in ways that contravene gender norms, so that's a well-beaten horse. There's Juno of the Nereids, who doesn't trust humans. Grunsford the Minotaur, who's kind of gruff and old-fashioned. There's a weakling mage named Odie, a couple of angels of no distinct quality, and Endorf, who went through a portal in another NIS game, Phantom Brave, and ended up here. No, I'm not joking. He has a badass cool guy move, Psycho Burgundy.
Yo, go for it, bro. Okay. Wait, is he dead?
Oh, and a girl with a bow who was abused as a child. And there's more to them. Like this much almost. You're given the chance to talk to different characters over the course of the game at the exclusion of others. You end up favoring one or more characters to get trickling bits of backstory. The game is meant to be replayed, so it assumes you'll just get them next time. Even with additional context, the characters are flat, unapologetically simplistic and tropey. No amount of tragic backstory can redeem a character whose lines amount to running fast, being dumb, and liking his sister. No compelling blurb can build Danette up as anything more than being intellectually challenged. A character isn't their wiki page, but how they're holistically experienced. Having played the game, I hate to say, but it all works. I feel like it's on purpose. Like, sure, it worked better if the characters were likable, or respectable, or worth anything at all, but there's a perverse kind of reduction at play. We're merged with Gig. We start sharing dreams over the course of the game as the separation of souls begins to blur. It's not unreasonable that the other party members are so minimal, so easily disregarded, and so tropey. Gig could never see them, as he is now, as anything other than inconsequential gnats. Minions to be controlled. You have to choose to see them for who they are, optionally, specifically, or, go to bed because everyone is stupid. I might pick that one. It doesn't make the moment-to-moment plot beats any more meaningful, of course. Soul Nomad feels like it wants you to feel like Gig, irritated, annoyed, handling it all on your own but constrained by the walls of your cage. In his case, the protag, in our case, the systems. Because your minions, your friends, are one-dimensional caricatures, hardly heroes. And that's how they present mechanically. Vitaly is a relatively minor main character who ends up important merely for healing the player. He has more innate utility than the others. Levin, Danette, these characters hit hard, stay alive, combo with you easily, carry your smaller squads early on, but for one plot reason or another, you can't actually rely on them. If you love them, it's because they're useful. I never thought twice about Juno or Grunsford or the Angel twins because they barely contributed to combat and had almost nothing worth saying in the story. It's interesting in retrospect, the kind of thing you can't see until you're over the finish line. Gig earnestly struggles with these people, verbally abusing them and suffering through their obnoxious paint-by-numbers antics, but we watch him slowly start to feel endeared by them anyway. Being alone is less fun than being together, especially after centuries of solitude. And so there's a real sting felt when a character isn't accessible, when you can't use them as you see fit, because they had something to take care of or fell ill. And you can't blame them for leaving temporarily, you can't do anything about it, you just make do, carry on. While Gig would much rather be alone, and the play even allows it to an extent, lets you use generics instead of plot characters at your discretion. It doesn't make the play any more enjoyable either way, realizing you barely like these people but want them here regardless. When you sleep during interludes, Gig and the player character dream. You dream about a baby, the child of the guy who's wandering through the intro, Meaty and the Conqueror who united Prodesto 600 years prior. We take this to mean that our protag is that child, or has something to do with that child. Meanwhile, Gig, called Vigilance, was apparently a kind, empathetic entity who watched over the people. These visions are delivered in disjointed snippets, so mostly serve to hint at a meta-plot that won't resolve until the end.
Mother! God damn, I told you!
You can say the R word with your whole chest, but draw the line at goddammit. Whatever happened between then and now is mostly lost history, and we're left with this pustule instead. Let's look at the plot. Soul Nomad is about hunting down the World Eaters. They were Gig's minions in another time, but he's himself.
Oh, please! Take me to heaven! Take me to the man I love!
Stop. So he feels no real remorse for them, and he'll gladly lend you his power, because the more he does, the closer he gets to assuming total control of your body. When that happens, he'll destroy everything. Says it multiple times.
I'm gonna destroy everything! Except maybe those hot pots. Those are good. I'll keep those.
So what's left when you're done? Just you and what? Your food?
Gig seems completely irredeemable and untrustworthy.
No, your problem is you're a
And 13. But the cracks show in time. Gig's going crazy locked in the sword, or you. It's a little fuzzy. He's a disembodied voice to everyone else. He wants freedom more than anything, and so when you walk yourself into danger against the first World Eater, just a single mission off from the starting town, Gig intervenes to save your life the second before you're smeared on the wasteland, hands his power over for free for the sake of preserving his one chance out. Kind of a pussy. And whether it's motivated by selfishness or not, it's a crack. That first World Eater wasn't rampaging, by the way. The world is battered, but the kaiju threatening total annihilation aren't actually active, or at least in any obvious way. Fane seems defeated, or tired, maybe even bored of simply squashing the mortals it fights. It only reacts to provocation, and the other two World Eaters aren't doing anything. Their positions are unknown, but they aren't toppling buildings. You're slowly shown a world suffering more from its own internal strife than anything explicitly destructive, and it's highlighted for most of the game. You travel to neighboring kingdoms and other autonomous city-states recruiting new characters, and these stops aren't all deep or important, they just help round out the world a little better. Despite growing up alongside the cow people and minotaurs, you learn pretty quickly that the other races keep to their respective territories. The world was aggressively colonized by humans, leaving other people consigned to the borderlands. And you buy into that power structure by going to root out the Nereids on behalf of a regional lord, but stop when you realize they're being scapegoated. You might have wiped out a dying population over a misunderstanding. If you weren't walking around with Gig's power, it's likely the Lord would have had you assassinated for siding with them at all. A lot of polite fiction informs your conversations with powerful leaders. You only get away with changing the world because you're a walking apocalypse. It's funny in that way. The characters carry on, clueless, comedic, and always in the midst of some seriously heavy stuff, but since you, the player, are a tourist in the world, it's kind of the perfect role for you to fill. If you're paying attention, the dissonance only gets louder. You recruit a lot of other characters in the first leg of the journey. Levin and Vitali join on behalf of the aforementioned lord. Juno of the Nereids links up during that last outing, and Grunsford here, who originally lived in your village, comes along to keep an eye on Gig, and to protect Danette. Whether they matter to you mostly depends if you find room in your squads for them. Around the midpoint, we learn that the second World Eater was weaker than the others, and so concealed itself to exert power in a different way. It broke the minds of an entire region, whispering to a charismatic preacher and spreading his influence as a genuine god. It's a fairly unsubtle analog for idolatry, a broader critique of organized religion weaponized for evil, which is important because the story up until this point, after realizing that the World Eaters are not active Godzilla-tier threats, is about the failings of mortals, not of ideas or gods, but the people who act on them. The way they sow division, the way the powerful abuse their privilege to the detriment of the lower classes, the way racial segregation is manufactured nonsense. A lot of supernatural events involve these gemstones, crimson tears, which can do whatever the plot needs, I guess, and contain people's souls. They're extremely rare and drive some of the money-hungry rulers of the world, people who don't want to die, that kind of thing. One is used against Thuris here to free Danette. The souls that saved her were her parents. It could have been anyone else's, but that's surprisingly irrelevant because the core thing here is Gig. He rails against the party giving pause when Thuris takes Danette hostage, but Thuris lived among and studied people for centuries and understands basic concepts like morality, emotion, etc. It's why he was able to spread influence so effectively. There's a sense that Gig could get what he wanted if he were a better manipulator, but he's too busy acting like a screaming man-child and jerking himself off to succeed. You have to deny Gig's power when he offers it, and can only maintain the hero's path because you have the discipline to understand what's at stake. You have to admit the value of other people, even the ones who suck, to carry on. Realistically, the game should be incredibly short. You only need 3 battles to wipe the World Eaters, right? Still, the journey gets complicated in all the usual ways, but also by your own allies. An early village needs defense from monsters, and a couple of your more heroic friends volunteer to help. At one point, the town Levin's sister is staying in is attacked by bandits, and you're made to sweep in and mop up the threat. You do a lot of crisis aversion and cleanup because Gig doesn't get a say. It's your character and the bonds they build that direct the flow of the action. Even when they're insipid and one-dimensional, they're still people, and the plot honors that fact. Now, we only managed to survive against Fane the first time, and the rematch is worth a look. The king, who wants to fuse with the beast to subjugate the land and rule eternally, which is really explicit class commentary, love that, has half his kingdom wiped in a single blast, and his crimson tears obliterated. Fane devours him and his entourage without lifting a finger, and almost sucks us down with them, but some of the friends we've made show up, and Gig gets so frustrated watching people he's come to know flounder,
I'll rip your head off and shit down your neck,
even after all this time and effort, that he lends us more of his power. Another crack. Gig might actually care a little, but he's got a reputation to uphold. The lead-up to the final World Eater highlights a lot of the same old problems with the world's people. The plot briefly diverts to Trisha, who mostly exists to give us a personal connection to a few minor antagonists. I know, riveting stuff. Earlier on, we learned about a band of thieves led jointly by Endorf, the honorable bandit, and Shauna, who's more interested in taking what she can in this world that already took everything from her. That's the setup. Shauna breaks with Endorf and attacks Trisha's village because she's the worst, and when we capture her in the battle, we learn that they're actually separated sisters. They both come from wealth and lost everything years ago. Trisha was trafficked, and, well, we're not clear on how bad it was for her growing up in her newfound father's house, but learning she's alive starts to change Shauna, maybe because she realizes she has one thing left in the world to protect. This entire scenario is further complicated by Shauna's escape. The plot gets pretty messy after this point. To summarize, we recruit some angels who have no real bearing on the plot. A civil war breaks out. Levin's sister is bounced around and kidnapped, which causes Levin to bounce around and chase after her. The civil war causes refugees to wander and head to the home of the Nereids, who take them in as an act of compassion, and that act ends up spreading a deadly plague. Soul Nomad is interesting because its characters don't stick very well. Grunsford, Danette, they exist, but the story's operating multiple dramas at the same time, so things tend to blur. Gig's history, Median the Conqueror's quest for eternal life, the gods, the reprehensible state of the world, it's a lot. It doesn't use these threads equally. We end up destroying the child trafficking ring Yesterwind by taking out its members and leader, except we don't do that ourselves. It's left to Endorf, this semi-factor. He's not even usable in battle for most of the game, who hands the job off to Kristoff, whose innocence is then protected by his brother. No fairly corrupt brother of mine will dirty his hands by killing a child trafficker. What the fuck? Who then leaps off the battlements of the fortress to make amends. We don't really know Cuthbert, we barely care about Kristoff because he's a rich manipulative powermonger, and Endorf is straight up from another game. Like, Trisha should be handling this. She got trafficked, okay? Not anyone else. Maybe Grunsford could, who acted like a real father figure for her. But the whole moment is pawned off to barely relevant characters, or at least people who have nothing to do with our immediate party dynamic. The end result is seeing a fairly corrupt leader, a personal benefactor or not, find some absolution, implying the world might be a little less awful now and possibly worth saving. It's just a bit disjointed from the immediate conflict. Speaking of, when it's revealed that the guy who bought Trisha had previously abused multiple little girls, the game takes a beat to have Shauna kill him herself. Again with this. I would love if Trisha did that instead, but sure. Shauna is neatly written out of the plot with a plague that tears through the land and apparently claims Levin's sister, but the plot must go on. The only question is, where is the last World Eater? Allegedly, it's lingering in a forest, sealed by a powerful wizard, who isn't actually on our side, traps us inside the seal, because he'd rather preserve the status quo and revive his lord. So, lore dump. Through dreams, we know that the souls of the world are perpetually reincarnated into a cycle. Lena comes to tell us that she isn't the original Lena, but one of the characters from Gig's dreams, Virtuous, the Master of Life, reborn into the cycle. Gig was originally the Master of Death, but he was slain long ago, after which he was corrupted, terrorized the earth, and was eventually beaten and contained by Lena within the sword. Without a Master of Death, souls aren't being properly allocated, and so the birth rate is in decline, and the world is reeling. As Lena herself comes to investigate the supposedly dead World Eater, this moment was legitimately surprising. They concealed it well. Levin is almost superhuman in terms of speed and strength, but Danette actually matches his surreal sprint multiple times. He seems both broken up and entirely unaffected by his sister's death. When the plague struck, she was actually healed, but shockingly died after. These are small hints that don't add up to an obvious betrayal. Levin, or rather Raksha the World Eater, whose soul was transposed into this vessel years ago, killing the original, plans to rule everything and subversively aided your party against Thuris and Fane to clear the path to power. And you're last. This scene might mean more, but Endor, again, waltzes into the plot having been romantically involved with Levin's sister, who's so irrelevant I'm not dignifying her with a name, and takes the guy out with a bullshit Chuny special move after we weaken him, apparently dying in the process. Unless you get his ending, because he's alive and well there. Guys, please pick a few characters and write one story. Or write two, but have our characters actually act in them. Dio tries to have us killed, once again to preserve the status quo, and we bop him on the head. But not before he opens a portal to a parallel or mirror world tied to our reality, Brazil. Cosmology time. This world, Prodesto, is actually the realm of Hafnis, so named for the goddess, and it has a parallel world run by Drazil. Here, everyone looks identical to the protagonist. Originally, we come from Drazil, or our body anyway. It's why you have no identity, justifying the silence and lack of weapon choice. And you are a World Eater.
What the bloody hell?
But it's only because
Any entities sent to the other worlds by a god are considered World Eaters.
it doesn't make you like Raksha or whatever. It's just a category of being. Those were stronger ones. We might have potential, but not yet. And living like a regular person, we likely never would have been anything special, if not for Gig and all that. Now, Drazil is a rigid world of constraints where identity is effectively disallowed, shamed, shunned, and adherence to the norm is expected. It's why we know it's fine to beat Dio down and refuse his status quo talk. Median himself was self-absorbed and couldn't actually maintain peace forever, believes himself to be the linchpin of the human world. But he couldn't actually install meaningful infrastructure before he died. So it's going to take more than power or a strong leadership. This is an odd part of the game because the writer suddenly decides to interrogate humanity the way Persona 5 and most of SMT do. Can people be happy if they aren't truly free? Does expression and individuality matter, or does it merely erode society? Can anything built on inconsistency last? Well, historically, it hasn't. But the world's been iterated on so many times, it might actually work out someday. That's what's ultimately communicated. Most of the world ain't pretty. It's all different. It all clashes. It doesn't go with the lamp. You don't fit in. But it's more beautiful, maybe more fully alive than Drazil. We storm their seat of power, pick a fight with their gods because they initially corrupted Gig's soul and caused the imbalance in the first place, and they also want us dead. The difference in ideology is laid out explicitly. The enemy gods fuse together to fight us, consuming their own world eaters, while we have Fane and Median the Conqueror, resurrected from the dead by Dio, make the choice to let Gig consume them for the sake of the world. And in the end, Gig offers his power freely. There's a moment of hesitation. Will he revert to his older self? Will he do something evil? He plays into it, even, but we're at the end of the line. Maybe he thought it'd make a better story, or he actually needed us to win. And we do win. Even in the face of annihilation, Gig maintains his persona, but he's changed. He stopped fighting for himself long ago, or started fighting for others. Maybe it's because they were fun, companionship was warm, even when it was ridiculous, when it was messy, when it hurt. I was taken aback when Gig vanished and Danette actually got emotional. He was awful to her, but forgave him anyway. People are complicated like that. I've lost people that made me hate them, and felt weird about it myself. Unfortunately, the moment's diffused by whatever ending you unlocked for focusing on a specific character more than others. Gig is alive, we're born into the cycle, and everything is good. For now. It's a bit of a wet fart, but I guess they didn't want all of that to be for nothing. The game is actually called Soul Cradle in Japan, and that's what the game is really about. Growth, rehabilitation, for Gig anyway. Saving people who seem too far gone, but still try. Because if it's not possible, then there is no society. The game makes it easy. Nobody else has the power to save the world except the disembodied voice who wants to destroy it. You're stuck with him, and have no real means to leave him behind. You can still tap into his power, even if you hate him, but the party changes him with companionship. He doesn't even deserve it. That's what spoke to me the most about Soul Nomad. I don't think it's a realistic standard to set for people, but it's maybe the loftiest part of the fantasy, the highest aspiration, to believe that people are salvageable with warmth. The actual message is a far cry from how it presents, and that's striking. But what if things turned out differently? All the way back at the start of the game, we were given a choice. A few of them, actually. These exist to put the player on the normal path, or what's known as the demon path. It's basically the whole Undertale thing before Undertale actually did it. Soul Nomad is a crude game. A lot of its dialogue is vulgar, and a lot of it simply wouldn't be localized today the way it was back then because times change. But the demon path is so vile. It's nothing visual. The game managed a teen rating because it's not bloody or brutal. All the nasty stuff is consigned to text or left implied. According to Ikeda, the whole demon path concept exists because he recognized that RPG protagonists get treated unfairly, have to bear the weight of the world on their shoulders, and often silently, with no real room for input. So he wondered, what would happen if the player lashed out? What if you could opt out of stupid time-consuming puzzles and grand destinies? What if you wanted to play, but didn't want to play along? There's no real need to go point by point with this, but the plot changes dramatically. You strike Lady Lena down in the first conversation, and tear the villagers to pieces, presumably because Gig's influence has warped your character's mind. You don't make friends with various heroes. You never recruit Levin or Odie or Grunsford. Instead, you wander from place to place, wreaking havoc and recruiting most of the boss characters instead, the unrecruitables from the main game. Of course, you're actually dominating people, like before, but through fear instead of shared purpose. You pick up Galahad because he's dying and would rather live as your servant than bleed out on the wastes. You convert Kanan to your side away from Thuris because she recognizes your power. Penn willingly signs up because, for some reason, in this path, he's obsessed with evil and the macabre.
Ooh, you didn't even think twice about me. That's like the evilest of the evil.
Damn, this rugrat almost dies and he's getting off on it. You scare me, brat.
And this all goes for Thorndyke, Shauna, the Angels, Dio at one point. You get access to a lot of people who made your life miserable in the main game, particularly Shauna. And all of them join up either out of fear or for a license to do evil. And you recruit Lobo. You know, the child trafficking guy. You team up with almost every disgusting character in the world. but of course you do. The heroes are conspiring against you, and the main character is wielding Gig's godly power in the face of mortals, forcing them to kill each other, striking down children. It's incredible. But this isn't tacked onto the game for fun. Actually, the demon path adds to the narrative in a significant way. It can be funny, crossing your arms and saying, "No!" to the main quest and mowing people down, but you can't play this route without some real power. Enemies are strong, and the route is shorter than the main game, scaling and challenge quickly, meaning you're probably going to have to be on New Game Plus to actually do anything on this route, for fear of being cut down and pushed out early. I actually think this was a mistake. The main story is about rehabilitating evil with humanity, and despite its excessive vulgarity, manages to stick what should be an impossible landing, because you're rewarded for putting in the work. A hard thing happens to be the right thing. It's a worthwhile story, at least for its ending. But the demon path should have, frankly, been more accessible. You're tapping into Gig's impossible power, you're tossing out the plot, and the characters, like they don't matter because you don't respect those things. It'd be far more effective if the game was suddenly set to baby mode for idiots and you steamrolled the whole thing in an afternoon, so you could have your cheap laugh, but ultimately sit in the exact kind of misery Gig does, unimaginably powerful compared to mortals, but truly alone until he opens up. It would have made for a more resonant message. It would have fully elevated the main game by comparison. And this isn't some hot take. Ikeda himself said that the demon path was originally conceptualized as a form of playable cheats for average players because cheats were very popular in the gaming landscape of the era. Instead, you're only allowed to play the demon path once you've felt something about the game. And that means it's mostly uncomfortable to sit through. A little funny in a crass and nihilistic way, sure, but still uncomfortable. And if you're on New Game Plus, if you were strong enough to take down the main game, not only will your level be inflated, but you'll gain access to a kind of super generic unit that can round out your squad far more effectively than any other type. Now, this is important. You're gonna need strength to take down the first World Eater, which happens the minute you leave the starting area. You're taught to abuse these powerful generic units to crush the boss, and when you do, you realize there's no reason to actually use any of your recruits. You don't need Thorndyke or Kanan or Lobo. You can just as easily keep them benched while you torch the world. You can still use them, you can overlevel them and invest and do whatever you want, but you have no reason to unless all this somehow has you hooked.
Oh me, what seems to be the trouble? Oh my, don't wanna burst your bubble. Come on, smile. Swing set up tomorrow, sandbox of the past. Searching for the jungle gym where we will meet at last.
Okay.
That just happened. They don't even have unique party combos the way the main cast teams up with the Protect. They never build bonds. It almost works as a punishment. You are ultimately alone, have no real friends, and if you squat up with those boss characters, you'll only be disappointed in them. This is fantastic narrative work. It doesn't matter how many minions you get or whether they're cool, exclusive Demon Path characters. They just don't matter in this context, which ultimately leads to the Demon Path's real failing. In the main game, characters would leave your party for heroic reasons, or other reasons, sickness, etc. They were people with ties to the world and autonomy, and while you could summon them back sometimes, you couldn't always count on them being available, which created important tension whenever you were forced to fend for yourself, as you abstained from Gig's power. Here, though, your little army starts to crumble all on its own. Multiple recruited characters betray you by the end to throw their lot in with the Silent Knight, humanity's last hope in the face of the Great Devourer Lord. That's you. Only, if you've been relying on yourself and your generic units, at least the way I did, their betrayals mean nothing. Less than nothing. I don't care that they broke free of a tyrant. I'm glad. And I wasn't using them anyway. It doesn't work to make you feel more alone unless you somehow found warmth and meaning in the demon path. The child murder path. Like, oh no, the weird cherub betrayed me. Whatever shall I do? Actually, I got a pretty good idea. It's not too vile, of course. It's only for fun. An enormous tower in quotation marks. The same guy who abused Trisha and other women is put down just like in the main game. Like, he's too evil to allow to live. So evil, nobody snarkily cheers for it like they do with murder and whatever else. The writer knows when it's a bridge too far. Doesn't stop the character from being abused and mentally broken, but it's something.
Taking a queen hostage? Definitely one of the evilest things so far.
Man, what are you talking about? As you carelessly tap into Gig's power, he slowly takes control of your body, knocking you unconscious for days and then weeks on end while he tortures people and ruins the world in ways that nobody ever explains in full. But, you can imagine it's some pretty raunchy stuff. Multiple party members lose their minds as the weight of their consciences and the evil they're allowing to run wild grinds them to dust. It's a withering little operation that's unthreading itself by the end. But that ending is just right. Most of your once allies turn their blades on you in a final stand for humanity. Raksha the World Eater ends up joining the world's people because a part of him, Levin, is still in there and mourns the loss of his sister, whether it was constructed or not. Meaning is personal and found regardless of the reality of a situation, or he's waiting to turn on the remainders in the name of power. He never gets the chance. You cut down every last one of them. The battle is hard unless you're incredibly overleveled, but you can take them out with quality prep. In the end, you destroy Prodesto, leaving only a black screen. As Gig cheers, you break the rules. Consume him as well.
No, you can't! You can't eat me!
And then the gods intervene. And then you kill the gods, leaving nothing but darkness. You can lose the final battle, actually, which will lead to an ending where the young Lena, now humanity's savior, seals you away in a crimson tear, alongside Danette. It's almost saccharine. It's a better ending to lose here. Despite your crimes, she's willing to try and fix you, no matter how long it takes. Losing in the demon path is effectively a win for anyone who's come to care about the setting or the characters. But if you win, and wipe it all from existence, you manifest the nihilist's perspective. You thought the insipid little characters were cringy, so you killed them off. You thought the world wasn't worth saving, or even worth trying for, so you scoured it from existence. You thought the gods themselves were too useless to get it right, so you returned the world to a time before the beginning. Cynicism, misanthropy, these maladaptive thought patterns only have one logical conclusion: total isolation. The message is plain. If you were bothered or squicked out by it all, if you couldn't handle the bright colors of other people, if you wanted to make the game pay for giving you secondhand embarrassment, if you thought this mess didn't deserve to exist, you get everything you asked for. Gotta talk trivia for a second. Guys, you'll never guess who appears in this game. That's right, Luge Peach from Grim Grimoire. You're killing me here! Development of Vanillaware's Grim Grimoire was assisted by NIS, so here she is. It doesn't help that both games are incredibly niche. Like, one guy in all of Japan that wasn't trawling forums or adverts, but happened to buy both games in order, and pogged so hard when Luge appeared after the honestly excruciating series of requirements to unlock the scene. This is crossovers for nobody. This is two developers saying, hey man, nice dick to each other. What the hell? I'm obsessed with this. Asagi here is unlockable from the second run and on because you have to beat Fane during the first encounter. Her game was apparently scrapped years ago, so she appears in multiple NIS games as recruitable, but she doesn't contribute much. You can also recruit Median himself, but to what end I don't know. Fun bonuses, I guess. Soul Nomad is the flattest game I've ever cared about. I don't really like the characters, and only find Gig a little funny, like in the cosmic sense. Like in the, oh no sense, you know? Good lord. I don't feel anything about the setting or most of the plot. It's only the ways its narrative is conveyed through mechanics and how the demon path adds layers to the narrative that interests me. Because for as stupid and as awful as some of the events get, as embarrassing as some of the dialogue is, there's a very clear creative vision informing the work. Imagine two different painters that are forced to fill a canvas. Only one of them gets crayons and the other gets expensive oil paints and brushes, and 3 times the amount of time. They're both painters, they're both comfortable with the task, but one has all the constraints in the world, and the other has what he needs. In spite of its bizarre mechanical cruft and its amateurish, tropey, everything, Soul Nomad squeezes so much out of such a restricted package, and you can only get a taste of it if you play the thing twice. Which is more than most games can ask of most people. So for most people, I guess, yeah, this game is, like, totally freaking lame. Channeling a guy I met there. For the few who actually saw it, it's life-affirming and not too far up its own ass, and earnest in spite of everything. Hey, thanks for making it to the end. Here's my $4 patrons. Let me blow your ears out. Adam Welsh. This is me, the author A.G. Charlton, bullying KBash to read Tomes of Ascension. Air Pirate Sid. A.K. Acropolon. Alexander Yaws. Alpha 42. Emperor Sandy. Angel Rivera. Angus. Anthony. Ha! Araloth. Aria. Aaron. Ashley, my wife. My darling. I asked KBash to make you smile. Also, hi, Merrick. Azriel. Azura. Atticure. Owleye. Axinate. Azazel, the Misanthrope. Bear Skeleton. Basement Dweller. Bosch 7. Basil. Be Gay. Do Crimes. Bella, more like Smella. Peppers and Beef. Ben M. Beguile. Big Damn Gamer. Big Papa Spray. Bill Brick. Biodigital Jazzman. Bite of Cursed Sushi. Blake Against the Machine. Largle Hargle. Blossom Dante. Boom Dead. BH Operator. Borgor. Born in Shadow. Brandon Hanna-Barger. Brandon S. Brendan Hesse. British Goose. Brian McKnight. Burger Noise. Cal. Cajun Lady. Cake Czar. C-Dub. Casual Male XL, Caesar T, Cherokee Bowler, Chiro Hero, Chloric Fox, Cordant, Chris Bromo, Cody Golden, Comfy Moogle, Kami Hog, Couch MOBA, Cosmetic, Crabmonger, Fish Finagler, Crashkers, Crater, Crispy J, Chrono 19G, Cup of the Puppa, CW Glassworks, Cyborg Jiro, Danky Steak, Swacky Bay, David Castillo, Dara, Dash Granny, Denward, Destrega, DeFore. Did you know if you put a wooden spoon on your pot while it's boiling, the pot spoon water will spill the water pot, the boiling pot water steams spoon wood? Dingus back. Don't read this out loud. Oh no, he did it! Doodle Flu, Doug Prince, DJ Professor K, Dr. House from the critically acclaimed television show House MD, Dr. Cullen PhD, Drop the Bait, Duffman, the protagonist, the antagonist, Dylan Winston, Eclair, Edward Bazinga, El Jaguar, Electric Song, Elefal, Alpio, Emperor Pickle, Empty Tenchi, Eric Monticello, Uriah, Erica Black, Excalibur Shines, Exorian Hagen, Gnar, Farrakhan's just happy to be Burns here, Maximum, Fazillion, Forte Noir, Forsyth, Frog Vorbis, Frolf Judge, Frosty Gamer, Gandalf the Garen, Guaranteed, Gigglebite, Bliffseeker, Gobo Bobo, Gobsmack, Goose 6112, Goose Dolly, Gray the Darkest Black, Griffey Turner, Guardcore, Gucci Plant, Happening Druid, Hatsune Miku's Crack House, Archive, Heeman, Game and Station, Helen Dingo, Hermit J, Hebe, Highwind 36, read that however which way you Honey Mutt, Horn Tiger, Horse Boots. How do you know? I just took 7 grams of magic mushrooms and now I'm lost in the woods. Imagination Act. I'm supporting KBash just because I wanted to make this part of the video longer. Inferno galore. IOBG. I punched a sandwich. It's not bad. It's time to sue. It's not good. Jack Hydrick. Jacob. Jalopy. James. Jams. Jank Dankins. Jason Lasky. Jaded. James Vaughn. Jar of Screaming Eyes. Jay Drito. JL Savaras. Jay Deus. JB. Jetty 2. JJ09. JK Hedgehog. John Bo the Joker. Jordan Joyner. Jorzy Burden. Joseph Anderson. Juicy Frost. July. Lunar Butterfly. June. Kadoki. Cowley. K-Chan. Keegan Too Cool. Keith the Thief. Key the Iron Idol. Kata Snack. King Kuma. Key. Killian. Kimi no Aibaga. Kanike Pike. Karasek. Kitsu-chan. Kitty Caddis. Clock. Kanoe. Cone 2020. Clayton. Crazy Dark Chocolate. Crumperton. Ice. Kyle. Kyle, not that Kyle. KZ Excellent. Lady Weeb. Lasset. Larry Rowland. Laundry Mom. Lego Sid. Lapeer. Lethal Nibbles. Linkle. Little Big Trouble. Loathsome Dung Eater. Lion Shard. Blonde. Low Red. Low Fat Mogert. Lucas Sight. Lucas Boy. Lucky Dagger. Blood Mac James. Lunatic. Lunar Prince Garbo. Magnet Head. Magic Meows. Malamatic Wolf. Manapool. Manic Pixie Space Pirate. Man in Space. Malfever. Maraganger. Marcules. Marcus Rambles. Max Muller. Maxwell B. Maximum Dawn. Meaty Smacks. Mechanized Memories. Maple Puppet. Mega Boy E Nasty. Mellytan. Mary Bites. Messiah of Rodents. Metal Gear Gashes. Michelle Citrano. Migsy. Mike Deviar. Mikusagi. Minadams. Noodles. Mithras. Moa. Mommy Dummy Big Titty Goth GF Queen. Monochrome Rainbow. Morgana Black. Maury. Morn. Morte. Modi. Mr. Mango. Mr. PP Pupukaka. Mr. Edie Dab Face McYoink Bomb. Moogie. Myrna. Naira. Nito Torpedo. Neon Dwarf. Nick Krishna. Nick LaRosa. Nifty Rex. Noah McFarlane. Not Nobel. Oh, Dominate. Hell, I forgot to think of something funny for the KBash credits. Next month for sure. Okami. OJ McMuffins. Oh, Burgle. Old Man Cranberry. Ollie. Omni Nerd Zero. 137. Only LK. Kaplant. Oscar. Owlbear Breakfast. Paper Lancy. PBK. Pandemic Cowboy. Pelagic Undulation. PK Gaming. P-Mike. Popular Hitman. Prismatic Dan. Pringle. Probably not great. Project Darklight. Punch Fighter Champion. Ponosaurus Rex. Pinksy. Quasar McDougal. Quiet Night. Quillworth. Raging Ataraxia. Real Beans. Reasonable Dingus. Red Death. Reggie Rodriguez. Renteca Bond. Ringed Relay. His arm fell off. It's Bowtie. Orlando. RP Gamer. Are you okay? Busta Wop. Ryan Michelle. Saigon Man. Siren Smells Good. Salmon Coder. Salsa. Salty Smasher. Scabrius. Scribe Slendy. Sakaya no Award. Sensual Coder. Saphirium. Sexy Bionicle GF. Sergeant Shitbrick. Shod. Shintendo. Shut up, Wesley. Singe. Simp. God!
Sir Doodles a lot. Seriously tired of waiting in line. Sir Giggles XD.
Sir Speedster.
Skywardly.
Sleepy Wabbit.
Slippy Sloppy Bippy Boppy. Snart. Small Turtle House. So Zeta Dad. Sock'em Boppers. Space Lizard. Sparks. Spider Dad.
Squidget.
Star Night Sky.
Static Linkage.
Streffen Battles.
Sully.
Sunny Bee.
Super Sandwich
Taya
Guy.
Toxin.
Jorn Chubbington.
Terrence Swift.
Thanks, Goku.
The artist formerly known as Sam the Sam,
the Big Bubby.
the Brandorian,
the Clown Prince of Cringe.
the Good Lord has blessed me, hallelujah,
the Green Loki.
the King of Fables,
the Crispy
the
Boy.
Peacemaker Pyro,
The Pirates of
the
Penzance.
Salt
The
Knight,
Nomad.
the Toasted One,
Thick Dick Mystic.
This is the Monato's Power,
Thresh.
Strips Heartthrob,
Tiggles McGuffin.
Tim Lobster,
Timid the Writer.
Total Play, Travis Edwards,
Trinon.
Twiddle Chungus, Ty Guy 9001,
Udit Singh.
Unlawful Skies Crippling Gotcha Addiction,
Vid.
Vacant Plaza, Valenrist,
Veloix.
Venom,
Verum Leonhardt.
Vice Puff, Viewers Like You, Vic, Volkento, Joaquin Get Right in My Bag, Wayne is Boss,
We will never have world peace until Candyland is a UN member state.
Weeb Trash,
Well, shit.
Waylon,
What's in a name?
Where am I?
Whiskey
Help!
Dono.
Widgie,
Wrenching.
Zanny Tanner,
Giandi.
Travius,
Zudaverse.
Yaro 12,
Yashichi.
Iniane,
Zane the Impure.
Zane the Pure, Zephigamon, Full Burner, Zero Maru 2, Zero Zalazar,
Cyberbunk.
Is it done? If you'd like to help support the show, help me keep investing, making interesting looks at the medium, hit me up on Patreon. See you soon. KBash out.